Hi guys, welcome to Zero Chills, and I am excited. I'm excited for today. Normally, I'm wearing one of my favorite shirts because we're having a happy person in studio. She looks happy. So I said I will wear a happy shirt. And also, thank you for watching last week's episode with Kome Gitobu. If you've not, link iko hapo chini kwa description. And today we are moving things a notch higher. We are having, she calls herself almost poetic. Like I always tell people how we met. I always have to start with the story of how we met. And how we met is that I saw her on Instagram. Then I started stalking her. Okay, not stalking, but research. I was researching and then I was like, Kai, this girl writes well. Then I think that night, it was around 11. That's the best time for researching. So I started, as I was researching, I was just reading all the poems and stealing some. I was like, why didn't I think of that? So there are some I stole, which when you are older, when you are a bit like 70s, I will pass them off as my own. I'll write them and say they're edgy, sure. But yeah, other than that, there are some things we have in common with her. One is that we are both Kenyan, and two is that we both grew up in Kenya. So welcome, Vickie Ngunjiri. I don't like to introduce people because maybe there are things that I always miss. Maybe you should introduce yourself and tell us, one weakness about yourself as you tell us everything about you.
I start with my weakness. Okay, I like to lead with my strong suits. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I'm Vickie Ngunjiri,
Yeah.
a poet, a writer, a reader, a lot of things.
Yes.
You said I tell you my weakness.
Yes.
I started
Tell
with
us.
weakness.
Tell us.
I think my biggest weakness would be not perfectionism, but I focus on the nitty-gritty details a lot.
You are petty.
Not petty. Not petty.
Yeah.
It will take me so long to make such an easy decision because I'm focusing on all the small details I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd say that's my biggest weakness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good. It's a good weakness to have.
Yeah, it's a good weakness to have.
I'd consider that a strength. Like when the HR asks you, so tell us about your weakness, and then you're like, I'm a perfectionist.
Until you need a decision from me that should take me 10 minutes, then it's a weakness.
So like you struggle with decisions.
Yes, a lot.
Is that why you are not okay? Last that personally. Now, so when the other week I saw you performing at a spoken word, or is it a poetry event? Na ni poetry ama poetry? Unajua kila mtu has their own. It's like how people say zebra. So it's poetry or poetry?
Poetry. Yes.
Now for you, I don't know how long you've been doing this, because some people stumble upon the creative arts and they say, I was just there working, like how people started making banana bread during COVID. Like everyone was making banana bread until I stopped eating banana bread. Is that what happened to you?
I used to write but not perform. I used to write under an alias because...
What's the alias?
I cannot say.
Okay.
But it took me... I started writing in 2016.
Yeah.
But I first performed in 2017, in October 2017.
Yeah.
So I've been performing poetry for how many years? 2017 to now. Yeah, that's a lot of time.
4 years.
Yeah.
It's almost a full election. Wow.
One
term doing poetry. And for the creative people, because most of the time this show is targeted towards such people, and most of our audience is a bit young, and they're struggling with the question of, or rather how I was struggling with the question of, do I need to do this, or how do I decide that this is for me? Those questions that you ask yourself, maybe you're just starting out in poetry and there are all these established people. Like when we started, I was telling you I consider you the Rupi Kaur. Is it Rupi Kaur of Kenya, because of your writing style, and it's something I admire. But for the younger people, how do they tell that this is in me? Because it's not enough to have talent, you also have to put in the work.
Yeah. I think I'll tell them what I did.
Yeah.
I tried out everything. I tried out everything I felt like was interesting. So don't be in a rush to just pick one thing and say, this is it for me. Try a few things. I remember before I started writing, before I became a poet, I used to model. Before that,
yes. We have a model.
Yes, and I tried it. It was fun for a while. Then I was like, no, this is not for me. So I tried something else until I found what I liked, what I was willing, because nothing comes easy.
Yes.
You being a good model or you being a good poet, you being a good writer, it's going to take a lot of time. It's going to take a lot of effort, conscious effort. I want to be a good writer. So I'm going to read a lot. I'm going to write a lot. I'm going to take maybe courses on how to be a better writer. So nothing comes easy. Find something that you won't mind putting in all that effort for.
Yeah.
You know, don't do it just because you think you should be doing it. Don't become a film whatever or producer because you think you should become that, because it's going to get hard, and unless it's something you really, really want, it's easy to give up.
Yeah, so it's easy to give up.
It's easy to give up. So find something that you don't mind putting in those crazy hours, especially for creatives and people who are going to be freelancing a lot. You're going to be working sometimes up to midnight. You have to wake up at 4 a.m. to go for a shoot or something. Find something that you won't mind putting all that effort for. Yeah.
I don't want to sound condescending, but whenever I go on Instagram during the days that I have bundles, tumesota kama creatives. So when I go on Instagram or on YouTube, everyone is a bit of a content creator, and it's a good thing. But what I struggle with is that I can't identify where you want to go with your content. If I'm watching from outside in, I can't tell, are you just doing this for the clout, which I understand it's also a goal in itself. But then as creatives, you know, that pure art thing. And I remember BN was talking about this thing in one of his interviews, and he said, you know, you have to, it's like you get married to your art and it becomes your first wife or first husband if you're not in a relationship, or if you're in a relationship. I don't know if it's the same for you, where now art is really important to you, especially where you are in life, depending on the things that you are doing, because I also understand you have a day job. Yeah. So I don't know how you get to balance the two.
Has art become like my first husband?
Yeah, you said you sleep at midnight. Oh, you have a second husband?
No, I'm saying I'm trying to decide if I've gotten to that point with my art. I'm going to say this, and you've said you can't really see if a creative is doing it purely for the clout or just they want to be creatives or something. It gets to a point, and that's where I think I am at right now, where my primary pursuit is to create value.
Yes.
If you take your time to read my poetry, I want you to get something out of it. So my creative process, or the outlook, or even how much effort I put into my work will reflect the fact that I'm trying to create value for somebody who's going to consume it. It's like saying thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for being a fan, or thank you for taking your time to read my work. I'm going to create value. So my primary pursuit at this moment is creating value for whoever will consume my poetry or my art. I don't think I've gotten to that point where it's all I want to do and it's all I'm doing and I'm like intense about it. I hope I'll get to that point, because it's such a fulfilling experience to do that with something you've created. And I hope I get there, but I don't think I'm there yet.
Yes, it's good to be honest. And you know, art comes from deep pain. Like Chris Rock says, comedy comes from a dark place. Because I know you do really good poetry. There's some, like I'm telling people, and I'm sure they will not believe me, that I screenshot some and put them for later. When I'm old, like 50 there, just I'm there posting on Instagram and saying this is my work. And, you know, by that time you'll be somewhere in Maldives, you won't even care. Yeah, hopefully. Fingers crossed. So I don't know. Does your poetry come from a dark place? And if it does, which dark place it is? Because me, I know when I'm writing, you know, there are some things that I went through while I was younger. Food was never enough. So most of the time when I'm writing, food has to be there in my characters. I don't know about you.
Does it come from a dark place?
Yeah.
I think it's easier to write when you are in a dark place. That's what I'll say. When life is good for me, at least, I tend to indulge. If I'm happy and I'm having good experiences, I tend to indulge and enjoy that. But when life is dealing you blows like left, right, and center, it's when you like unajita mkutano, you sit there and you're like, wow, okay. So I think it's easier to write when you're in a dark place, and that's why most of my poetry is kind of sad or dark or heartbroken, or it's easier to write when you're there than when everything is perfect and it's all sunshine. You tend to indulge when you're there.
When was the last time you were in a dark place?
Quite recently, actually.
Tell us more. You can edit.
Recently. It's one of those things I feel like I've been running away from most of my life, and I knew I was going to have to deal with this eventually. I kept postponing it. I'm like, I'm gonna do it later. But something happened that forced me to deal with it. It's like you can no longer run. If you are to move on, if you are to go past this point, you need to deal with what you've been running away from. So I was in quite a Is it dark? Yeah, it is a dark place I was, and I'm not shy about the fact that I go to therapy. So therapy has been like a big deal, and I love my doctor. She's one of those few people who call me out on my bullshit, like to my face. She's like, no, you're lying to yourself. We both know that's not good. That's not going to happen. So let's be honest with each other. So, and having such a brutally honest is the right definition. She's kind of a friend, but she's my doctor, and I love her for just being that person to. So I have been in a dark place quite recently, and that's all I'm willing to say about it. I don't think I'm past it. But I'm doing better. Okay.
I think I've also been there, and when you talk about dark places, this quote that people keep on saying, that you can show a young person where their minds are, but he or she, sooner or later has to go through the field himself. And I don't know, for creatives, especially when I was doing advertising in agency, we used to have this thing, whenever briefs got hard or whenever life got a bit hard, like you just said, we indulge a lot, just to mask our problems, because then you're there, you're doing well career-wise, but personally your life is a bit shit. And when life is shit, that's when the ideas are coming. You're like, like you're writing an advert, you're writing, people are relating. Kumbe they don't know it's your emotions that are seeping through. And I don't know, other than therapy, which I do understand, it's a pretty big component of. And I think more, my friend keeps on saying, our whole generation needs therapy.
Our whole generation needs therapy.
We need therapy. There's so much hurt, but then there's also the problem that hurt is what inspires good work. Like Adele would never have released that album were it not for the heartbreak.
Yeah, I appreciate dark times for what they allow us to create. Like, I think even the first time I wrote a poem was because of a heartbreak. Oh, man. So I do appreciate dark times for what they allow us create. But I think taking care of, like the therapy I'm talking about, taking care of where you are mentally as a creative is important. Your mind is your... It's not capital per
resource.
Se, but it's the one thing you're going to rely on, Keep your house in order. Take care of things.
But then again, as a young person, you have to remember, let's give an example. Maybe I'm in Kibra or Kileleshwa. We are all united by the common factor that we want to create. And every time you want to create good work, you have to go, okay, I know most people go outside themselves so that they are able to remain objective in their work. But do you find it easier to remain objective or subjective? Do your personal feelings sometimes seep into the work?
Yes, my personal feelings do seep into the work. But like I told you, I focus more on the value I'm creating for the other person. There are poems I've written and I stop and ask myself, so what will people think about me when
Yes.
they read this?
Yeah.
And that used to be like a nagging fear at the back of my head. So what will people think? But I got out of that mindset and purely focused on speaking to you. If you are the person I'm talking to and this is the current struggle we are going through right now, I'll speak to you in a way that you will understand, in a way that will communicate what I'm saying best. So I stopped worrying about what the poems say about me as a person or what people will think about me, and just focus on how I'm going to impact you when you do read this.
You know, one thing that I had to learn a bit early in life was rejection. So me, I'm not used to getting rejected. I'm like, Vickie, you're saying no to me? Me? Look at me and my handsomeness, and I put all these dreads for you and you're saying no. So I had to learn pretty fast that in creative sector, rejection is a big part of it. And sometimes as creatives, we can be so invested in our work that when someone says, okay, this is shit, like your therapy, like your therapist, and tells you, cut the bullshit. I don't know how you personally deal with rejection, but me, first of all, I just go and eat and indulge. That's my go-to comfort food. Eat first. And I'll be like, so she said no, like she really said no to that work. What about you? Can be honest.
There's this place I read that artists are sensitive about their art.
Yeah.
They don't see that you're saying no to maybe the concept they're coming with. You're saying no to them.
Yeah.
It's hard to separate what you've created using your mind from yourself. It's not like a sculpture, or it's like a sculpture, but I'm saying it's, especially if it's intellectual work, it's hard to separate that from yourself.
Yeah.
So when somebody says no to your work, you feel like they're saying no to you. But I look at it in a way that doesn't affect me personally. It's not me you're saying no to, it's the work, and the fact that this thing is not for you does not take away its value. The fact that you do not, maybe you prefer this to this, does not mean this is wrong or this is not good. If you're like, maybe like you like avocados, it does not take away from the fact that mangoes are also nice fruits. It doesn't take away from its value. So if it's not your thing, it's not your thing. But it still retains its value. It's still, if I think it's good work, I won't feel some type of way because of my work because you said no. I'll just be like, oh, maybe that's not for him. It's cool.
Yeah. Like she said, avocados are really nice. Mangoes can be good. Okay, that's not the point. I hope you got her point. But Vickie, so for you, when I stalk your Instagram, when I research, and I'm doing my research on your Instagram, I see you have such an interactive audience. And for the young creative who, you set up your account, maybe you're a musician, maybe you're a writer, maybe you're a painter or an artist, and you're doing such good work, but not enough people are seeing it. And sometimes that can happen to get in the way of your creativity. You start feeling a bit of that rejection. You start feeling like, but Nani is doing such terrible work, like his art is not good and he's getting all these followers. How then do you cultivate an audience, a loyal audience that is not just there for the likes? Because sometimes there are these social media guys, they have a lot of followers, but then the engagement is a bit weird, because if you see the comments are just emojis. Someone has put a picture there of maybe the mother has got into an accident, and then you just see the emojis are just there, pictures of people laughing, and you're like, so it doesn't make, there's a disconnect. For you, how do you cultivate an audience and keep it growing? Because I know that's something very important for creatives.
This is I feel like I've said this point 500 times by this.
Say it again.
Value. Create value for them. That's it. There's what sells, especially let's talk about Instagram. There's the kind of pictures that will get you a lot of likes. Especially if you're a lady, we know what kind of pictures.
What are you saying about us?
But what value are you creating for this, for them to keep coming back, for somebody to be like, I need to turn on post notifications for this person's account because I don't want to miss what they're posting, or for somebody to like just keep coming back, or even take time to reshare your work and talk about it, or even just screenshot, like you were saying. Create value. What do not look like, okay, now I have 100 followers, what's the point of putting in all the work for just this 20-30 followers? Think about it as creating value for everybody who's going to come across your account, so that when you're posting a picture, when you're posting a story, I know you post stories, so when you're posting a story, is for everybody else who may or may like will come into contact with your account, with your work. Create value for them. That's what I'd say. Don't look at where you are right now, look at where you're going, or what you're if you're looking for, like, say 10,000 followers, what will these people be doing in your account when they get there? They'll be having conversations with you. Okay, so what kind of conversations do you want them to have? Create content around that. And I'd say there's something else I wanted to say, I've just forgotten.
Take your time.
Okay, also it's targeting and getting your work to them. Ask yourself, who is this music for? Who am I writing to? Am I writing to the younger generation? Am I writing to maybe people who are like my parents? Who is this music for? And then that will help you decide even how you're going to get it to them.